turn on the film and watch your position group, what do you see? What's different about when Raekwon's in the game?
Raekwon he provides a lot of energy for us, and I don't know if there's too much different between him and Kurt, and I think that they're both really good players, but Raekwon, he's a little energy ball and he gets after it. The same goes with Curtis, and he comes in the game, and I know he's got a lot of passion, and so that's one thing that we can all feed off of when they're both in the game.
What have you seen that Raekwon definitely still needs to improve on, though, Joshua?
He's just a young player, so the stuff that comes along with that, just the situations and all the kind of things that young players don't have experience with.
Mm-hmm. Like recognizing, different plays, different fronts. What? Give me an example.
Just being in there on game day, being adaptable, maybe recognizing some of the down and situation things. And he's a very mature, aware player, but at the same time, when you're a young guy, sometimes those things get away from you a little bit.
Joshua, when your coaches scout the upcoming opponent, how much does stats play a part in that? Like, will you find out how much Christian Hackenberg has been sacked this year?
Those things turn up eventually, and guys in the room sometimes go out and find those on their own. We just look at a lot of personnel things, how many times plays come up. Down and distance is a big thing for us. Those type of stats aren't necessarily as important to us because we know some teams will try to attack us in different ways and maybe do some things to slow us down. But when you see those numbers, they also give you a little energy too.
You faced some good quarterbacks this year, Gunnar Keel, obviously. Where does Hackenberg kind of stack up among the guys you faced?
He's a really good quarterback. He's up there at the top, and he's done a pretty good job, especially being a young player, stepping in there when he had to, and taking the reins of the team. And I know that their coach and their team has a lot of confidence in him. So, he'll be a challenge that we face right there. Just the fact that he can drop back and do some of the things and take control of the game the way he does.
Joshua, what are your impressions of Coach Johnson? Obviously he was at Penn State for 18 years, and I don't know how special you think this is in some respects for him going back there after all that.
Well, I know this is a special game for him, and he's talked about it just a little bit already, but he's a very passionate guy who cares a lot about his players, and he gets after those guys. And some of the improvement I've seen from some of the players in terms of the way they play, but also their attitude and their approach of the game is amazing. And Coach Vrabel did a really good job getting after guys and doing that whole thing. But I think some of the guys took to Coach Johnson really well.
What has he said about this being special to him? Just because he was there for so long?
Yeah, just the tie that he had to the school, and it'll be his first time going back since, and it'll be a whiteout and big crowd and all that, so I know he's hyped up for it.
Yeah, I asked him if he'd ever seen the opposing locker room, and he said no. And, you've been there. What do you think it would be like for him to walk that gauntlet? You were there, right?
Yeah. It was interesting, and you got all the fans there shaking the fence and doing what they do, and the guys are all hyped up, ready to go. So it'll be interesting to see him in that arena there going after it. But I know he's got a lot of care for the guys, so he'll coach his behind off.
You think they'll treat him as a former coach at Penn State, or treat him like one of you guys? As he walks that gauntlet.
Probably like one of us now.
Yeah.
Josh, the way you guys have blown people out the last few weeks, I know a lot of fans and people across college football kind of just want to skip all the way to the Michigan State game. Do you guys talk about that at all, and how do you kind of keep the focus?
We keep the focus because, like I've said before, we've got young guys who are hungry, and they got something to prove, so they want to play in every game, in every situation to take advantage of it. And then our older guys are mature enough that we know that you can't overlook any games and you can't take winning for granted. So I was talking to Mike Bennett earlier today, and he was saying that he likes the guys that we have because our guys know that we're good and we're confident, but we're not so cocky that we're going to overlook anybody or want to skip ahead to any games or anything. So I think that the makeup that we have right now is really good for us to be able to continue to be successful but not overlook anything.
When you guys won by 39 last week, you've blown out basically your last 4 teams, and yet Urban Meyer seems like he's putting the hammer to you guys a little bit.
Yeah. We all know that we're not as good as we could be right now. And that's the kind of interesting thing is we've been playing really well and we've been beating teams by a lot, but we've still got a way to go in offense, defense, and kicking games. So I think that's what he's excited about, and that's why he's grinding us so hard. And then I think that's what our leaders also recognize, and that's why we're grinding so hard.
Joshua, when you are a veteran starter, if the coach does rotate in a younger guy for a series at any position, are you guys like, I don't want to come out. Why am I coming out? Or do you do guys understand, or if you try to stay fresh for the end of the year?
We see it a lot of different ways. I know guys want to be fresh for the end of the year, but we also want as many reps as we can get in the game. But I think one thing that we see here, and I think I've said this before, is that a lot of us get really excited to see other guys go in the game and make plays. And I'll get more excited for a young guy or one of my guys in the unit room making a play than I'll get when I make a play myself. So I think that's something we have on this team, is that we're selfless guys and we want to see other guys succeed. Reps are very important. They're very valuable, and you never know when you'll get the next one. But at the same time, we know that we've got a lot of guys who can play, and it's competitive around here. So we take advantage of that.
Josh, you mentioned that you were talking to Mike, and he said that you guys are confident without being cocky.
Mm-hmm.
But as you look at the landscape here, this is the first of 3 primetime games for you guys. Is this an opportunity for you guys to open up some eyeballs and maybe earn a little bit of respect?
Definitely, and that's what you try to do in these games. Is you go out there and you want to play your best in front of the big crowds, in the big arenas, and the situations where the lights are on. We're gonna prepare as hard or harder than we've prepared in the past for this one, because we know it's going to be a big game and we know we've got a stretch run coming up.